Hello friends, it is Alain van Rijn, and I hear you think, who is this dandelion shirtless Yahoo? Maybe his hair will fall out and parachute out all over his desk. Not before I tell you about my hair loss and recovery journey, give you a full breakdown of all the tools I've used and the notes I have on the best use of them that I took throughout the years. The full protocol will be available on my website, alainvanrijn.com, where you'll also find a premium source list with access to raw hormone powders, peptides, GLP-1 agonists, rectogenic agents such as tadalafil, all of this directly from manufacturer, purely for inspiration, of course. For the right person, this will be extremely valuable. So I highly recommend that you check out if it's for you. Let's get into my protocol, hair loss journey, and all the good stuff, shall we? In 2015 of March, I started using some anabolic steroids and not managing estrogen very properly, just by vibes, which basically means it fluctuates all over the place. The cycles were also quite heavy in androgens, such as trembolone, mesterone, and also high doses of test, and no measures to protect my hair in the meantime for these 2 years. The result was what you see on these pictures. In March of 2017, I stopped cycling for the time being and haven't done actually so ever since. A year later, for comparison, maybe my estrogen normalized a little bit, but still the hair loss was significant and not recovering by itself, as can be seen in a slightly degraded 2019 picture where my hairline receded in my view. And in November of 2020, I got the idea of documenting what I was going to do about it so that one day I could make this video. So that's the kind of the low point in my hairline, or rather the high point, depending on how you look at it. I started with ketoconazole and RU58841 because these seemed to me at the time like the very lowest risk treatments I could do in terms of side effects. The ketoconazole shampoo I used was Nizoral. That's not the one I'm using right now. Nizoral has a tendency to frizz your hair up and sort of suck the life out of the look of it as a main side effect. But it feels quite nice on the scalp. RU58841 5% solution is a research chem topical anti-androgen that helps allegedly both for general androgens and DHT related hair loss. My experience with these two compounds is that it might have slowed down my hair loss a bit without necessarily recovering any significant amount of hair. Also, the RU58841 is relatively expensive, $40 per bottle that would last for a month without discounts and without shipping costs. Also, it crashes out of the solution when you keep it in the fridge, which you need to do. And so it like crystallizes on the bottle, and dropper that you may use for it to apply on the scalp. That's something to keep in mind, and the results were not too amazing on my side. I even decided to shave my hair for a while in March of 2021, just to wait for the effects that didn't materialize from this. I wanted to try topical dutasteride. Many people go for oral finasteride typically, and oral dutasteride perhaps. However, I was not ready to risk those side effects yet, and I figured that topical dutasteride has a smaller chance, or basically a smaller rate of going systemic, and therefore should not give you the lowering of DHT systemically, which could cause all kinds of side effects, especially in libido, but also energy and mental clarity and mental health. So added that, used the suggested use of twice per day, 1 milliliter approximately. Also started Derminate or 2 microneedling in August, and I was keeping the RU and ketoconazole just the same. Microneedling I did separate from the topical antiandrogens, so I waited until it was fully healed, about 24 hours or a bit more, before applying the topicals again. These are pictures 1 week into starting a new protocol, because I forgot to take real before pictures, but these are as good as I get. As you can see, despite the bad quality, that there's a lot of see-throughness in my on my scalp, diffuse thinning. 6 weeks later or so, I started noticing a little bit of progress, positive progress, that is. On the pictures, it is not so noticeable yet. However, I think I started noticing it here, and about 6 months later, the following pictures were taken at some point, and here I can confirm that the regrowth from adding the dutasteride and probably the microneedling to a lesser extent was quite satisfactory, and it was something it gave me a level of hair that I would be satisfied with for the rest of my life if needed. Here's some more angles and lighting conditions, keeping the protocol the same. And I added minoxidil in February of 2023, inspired by the late Leo Rex of Leo Longevity, to take high concentration, 15%, that is minoxidil. Good value for money if you get 15% for the same price as you would usually get 5% perhaps, if it's available for you. I dropped RU at some point in my journey because $500 per year added up over a decade it's just expensive. It's an expensive treatment, and as I said, it was very annoying to use. Crashing out of the solution, always had to wash your hair before applying it, otherwise it would be way less or ineffective. And you don't want to wash your hair every day, in my view, or twice per day. Then your life becomes about this, and it's not what I wanted. But adding minoxidil in February as an experiment, and it was successful in regrowing. I have to say that minoxidil, for those who are not super familiar with it, gives a rather temporary boost to the growth of your existing hair follicles that are still functional, sort of put them in overdrive. If you stop using it, you will start shedding and you will lose approximately the same amount of hair that you gained from it. Whereas a topical anti-androgen, such as the dutasteride, will prevent the degradation of your hair follicles over the long term. I will not get into the scientific studies and details for it, but you can fact check this for yourself, and it's what my experience confirmed here. In the June 2023 pictures, I was still on both all the tools that I mentioned before and minoxidil, so the RU was probably dropped somewhere after that. But I didn't notice any serious difference from dropping the RU in September of 24, October 24, let my hair grow out a little bit, about the same. Microneedling a little bit less than I used to in the beginning because I ran out of cartridges. I feel like the care of the protocol Like the most important thing is topical dutasteride, and as a growth promoting agent, the minoxidil, which you can then very much accelerate or make more effective by microneedling. Whereas microneedling without minoxidil, in my opinion, is, or in my experience, let's say, not an opinion, is less effective. Also cheaper, so it's always microneedling being cheaper than minoxidil, but both of them together very effective. And the latest updates from this month, just for reference, looks about the same as in 2023. Now going into every individual tool and my notes and remarks. Dutasteride lotion, not effective for women as their hair loss is not driven by DHT as much, although I have no experience with that. Also, women who are pregnant should be extremely careful not to get near it. So if you have a woman who's pregnant or becoming pregnant, keep it away. It could potentially affect the unborn baby. Really don't want it to happen to anyone. Not worth it. Also, don't dabble in it if you're still going to puberty. Some men might have experiencing hair loss really, really early already when going through puberty. Topical dutasteride is not completely immune from going systemic. So keep that in mind and only do it once you're fully matured, if you consider it doing it at all. I started using this initially twice per day as suggested, but eventually I came to the realization, or after some experimentation, that the high concentration that it is once per day is enough for me. The cost of once per day half milliliter for a 32 pound 60 milliliter bottle will make it £8 per month. And in my view, for me, this would really be the first line treatment for men to prevent degradation and small regrowth if you already lost a little bit, but use it as early as possible and as safe for you is my personal view. Topical dutasteride doesn't help against obviously pure DHT because it only blocks conversion of testosterone to DHT, in this case locally in the scalp. So if you just put DHT there through your body, basically DHT derivatives such as primobolan or drostanolone or other heavy androgens, they all just can make you bald regardless of the dutasteride that you use. But the testosterone in your stack that of 5-alpha reduces to DHT, otherwise that part you can still block, so it's not that it's completely worthless in most stacks. But it basically only works against testosterone, all esters, and methyl testosterone, so oral testosterone. And if you want to protect against other androgens, you should use something like RU 48841, or perhaps a newer one like Breezula that I haven't tried, but something you can experiment with and something that I might experiment with in the future. For the minoxidil, I experienced almost no side effects, maybe very minor darkening of some peripheral hair, so like in my neck, on shoulders, a little bit more hair growth, but really no water retention or heart palpitations or any of that, even if I apply it right after microneedling, so still on a bleeding scalp. I would never do that with anti-androgens, but I would do it personally with minoxidil, and that really gives amazing short-term boost in hair growth. The difference in application is that I think with minoxidil there's more value in twice per day because of its shorter half-life, and I tend to apply it only on areas of the scalp where I have the most severe hair loss already, because it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to boost the hair growth in places that it's still sufficient. That's, I think, a waste of minoxidil and money, therefore. With dutasteride, I apply it more spread out over my entire scalp. So all the areas that can, so basically the top of my head, scalp, all the areas that might potentially be affected down the line, just to prevent the degradation and prevent myself from needing minoxidil in these areas if I want to preserve my hair. Regarding Derminator 2 microneedling, I recently started using a deeper needle depth of 1.5 millimeter. I initially thought this would be too painful because 1.25 millimeter was sort of the maximum I could tolerate. However, I felt like paradoxically when going a little bit deeper, you kind of reach different nerve endings or fewer nerve endings. So this was not impossible to do for sure, and it should be more effective. It was yesterday, so now it looks a little bit red, but you probably hardly be able to tell. 12 needle cartridge, so single needle no, 9 needle no, 12 needle yes. Always disinfect the needles before with alcohol or something before starting the process, and just wash it after. You could use a timer, then it will sort of automatically calculate the amount of time given the side of the area. I'd usually select inches because you have to press fewer buttons to reach the same size area. So length, roughly 6 by, now I have 8, so 8 by 6 or something. Okay, turn on the timer, click OK, and then we can do fast for the scalp. And when you start increasing the needle depth, it starts vibrating. There you go. And the timer starts running. That's the Derminator. I still use ketoconazole shampoo, and I plan on using it a little bit more than I have done in the past few quarters, where I got lazy with it. Should be a good scalp health measure. This one is about 26 pounds per 500 milliliter bottle, excluding shipping costs. And it's 2%, just like Nizoral, but has a few other helpful ingredients. However, it still tends to frizz up, suck the life out of your hair. Not as bad as Nizoral, but it still does. To mitigate this attack on the look of your hair, you could, after washing and drying a little bit, apply a preconditioner such as this one from Paul Mitchell's Supercharged Ultra Rich treatment. Leave it in for the described time of 3 to 5 minutes. Then wash it out, apply your favorite conditioner, wash it out once again, and then after a little bit of drying with a towel, add the Kerastase Nectar Thermique that you can just leave in and either blow dry, or just, if you don't do that in your hairstyle, just let it dry by itself. This will give your hair like a better look. Before I close this video, sources that I use for this video are available for free on my website, adelenvanderijn.com, and you'll find a premium source list there with raw hormone powders and peptides such as HGH, GLP-1 agonists, and my favorite erectogenic compounds like tadalafil and adenafil. I put this together from my experience with different sources, and I really hate it if people overpay for generics that are kind of commoditized, that I can just get in pure raw quality. So if this is something you're interested in, for the right person, it will be extremely valuable for sure. Be brave and share this video with someone who might need it